In the Amazon rainforest, archaeologists found soil that shouldn't exist. The Amazon has the worst soil on Earth, acidic clay that turns to concrete in dry season. Farmers get 2 harvests before the land is exhausted. But scattered across the jungle are patches of jet black soil, 6 feet deep, still fertile after 2,000 years. The locals call it Terra Preta, Black Earth. Scientists call it the most important agricultural discovery of the century. But here's what makes corporations nervous. One handful of this soil, applied once, outperforms $10,000 worth of fertilizer, forever. In 4 minutes, I'll show you the ingredient that does this. But first, you need to see what happened when they tried to bury it. Terra Preta wasn't natural, it was engineered. Between 450 BC and 950 AD, indigenous Amazonians created this soil by burying one thing: charcoal. Not ash, charcoal. They burned wood slowly in low oxygen pits, creating biochar, a form of carbon so stable it lasts millennia. Then they mixed it with food waste and buried it. The results defied everything we thought we knew. In 1960, Dutch soil scientist Wim Sombroek mapped these sites across the Amazon. He found 6,000 square miles of Terra Preta, some patches 2 meters deep. Nutrient levels that stunned everyone: 3 times more organic matter than surrounding soil, phosphorus 7 times higher, calcium up to 70 times higher. These measurements were on 2,000-year-old soil that never received modern fertilizer. But here's what makes Terra Preta revolutionary. It doesn't just hold nutrients, it regenerates them. In 2003, Cornell University published a study showing Terra Preta sites actually increase in fertility over time. The soil was rebuilding itself, growing thicker each year even without humans. Stay with me, because in 90 seconds I'll tell you exactly what happened when this research got too close to exposing the fertilizer industry. But first, what happened to the knowledge? When Europeans arrived in the Amazon in the 1500s, they found thriving agriculture, permanent settlements, managed forests. Chronicler Gaspar de Carvajal wrote in 1542 about villages so close together that one was scarcely lost sight of before another came into view. Within 100 years, smallpox and slavery decimated the population. Survivors fled deep into jungles, taking their knowledge with them. By the 1800s, the Black Earth was dismissed as volcanic deposits or flood sediment. The idea that primitive indigenous people could engineer superior soil was incompatible with colonial narratives. In 1874, geologist Charles Hart documented Terra Preta in detail, but attributed it to natural processes. His reports were filed away and forgotten for 80 years. The real suppression began in the 1960s when Sombroek's work gained attention. His 1966 book, Amazon Soils, laid out evidence that Terra Preta was human-made and replicable. He proposed modern farmers could recreate it using the same techniques. The response from the agricultural establishment? The International Fertilizer Industry Association published a 1972 critique calling biochar unscalable and economically non-viable. But read between the lines. They didn't say biochar doesn't work. They said it doesn't scale profitably within the existing fertilizer distribution model. Think about it. A farmer who creates permanent fertility with a one-time charcoal application is not a repeat customer. By the 1980s, research funding for biochar dried up. Universities shifted to chemical fertilizer optimization. The knowledge survived only in obscure journals. Then in 2006, everything changed. Dr. Johannes Lehmann at Cornell cracked the code. The secret wasn't chemistry, it was biology, and the mechanism will make you rethink everything you know about soil. Here's how it works. When you burn wood at 400 to 700 degrees Celsius, you drive off water and volatile compounds, leaving pure carbon in a highly porous structure. 1 gram of biochar has 500 square meters of surface area, about 2 tennis courts. Under electron microscopes, biochar looks like a sponge made of millions of tiny tunnels. These pores become condominiums for soil microbes. Bacteria colonize the surfaces. Fungi thread through tunnels. This microbial community transforms the biochar. Microbes excrete organic acids that bind to carbon, creating charged sites that attract nutrients like calcium, magnesium, potassium. Over time, biochar becomes coated in living biofilm, a self-organizing ecosystem that captures nutrients and releases them slowly to roots. This is why Terra Preta regenerates. The biochar never breaks down. Carbon-14 dating shows biochar in Amazonian soil is structurally intact after 2,000 years. But the microbial coating constantly cycles nutrients. It's a perpetual motion machine for fertility. The Cornell team tested this on degraded cropland in Kenya. They added biochar at 10 tons per hectare, no fertilizer. Within 1 year, corn yields increased 80%. Within 3 years, soil organic carbon increased 30%, microbial biomass 50%. The soil was rebuilding itself. In 2010, University of Hawaii replicated this on volcanic soil. Biochar raised soil pH from 4.5 to 6.2 without adding lime. Nutrient retention increased 60%. Plants grew 40% larger. Water holding capacity doubled. In drought simulations, biochar amended soil retained moisture for 2 weeks longer. But here's the number that should stop you cold. A 2018 meta-analysis in Global Change Biology reviewed 450 biochar field trials worldwide. Average yield increase across all crops and soils, 25%. That's not marginal, that's revolutionary. From adding charcoal once, not every season, once. You can see why the fertilizer industry doesn't want this spreading. The global fertilizer market is worth $200 billion annually. Farmers spend $300 per acre per year on nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. A one-time biochar application costs $200 to $500 per acre and works for decades. The suppression is subtle but systematic. Search for biochar on major agricultural university websites. You'll find research papers, but no extension programs, no farmer training, no USDA subsidies. Compare that to synthetic fertilizers, which have entire agencies promoting them. The 2018 Farm Bill allocated $5 billion for fertilizer subsidies. Biochar? Zero federal funding. In some places, suppression is direct. In 2015, a farmer in Alberta, Canada was fined $1,200 for spreading biochar without an environmental impact assessment. The charge? Unregistered soil amendment. The same regulation allows unlimited synthetic fertilizer, documented pollutants, but a farmer using 2,000-year-old indigenous technology needs government permission? So how do you make biochar without destroying your garden in the first year? Because here's the critical mistake most guides won't warn you about. Fresh biochar is biologically inert and incredibly alkaline. Mix it straight into soil and it locks up nitrogen as microbes colonize it, starving plants for 6 to 12 months. You'll see yellow leaves, stunted growth, and think biochar doesn't work. What you've actually done is skip the activation step. Here's the method Cornell validated. Make charcoal using a cone pit or TLUD barrel system. For the pit, dig 3 feet deep, 4 feet wide. Fill with dry hardwood, oak, maple, hickory, never pine. The resins create toxins. Light it, let flames die to coals, then cover with metal or soil to cut oxygen. It'll smolder 6 to 12 hours. You'll have charcoal, black, lightweight, rings when tapped. For a TLUD, nest a smaller barrel inside a larger one with 2-inch gap. Drill air holes around the bottom. Fill with wood, light from top, let it burn down. After 2 to 3 hours, you have biochar. Now, activate it. Crush biochar to pea-sized chunks. Soak in compost tea for 24 hours. Then layer it into compost. 2 inches biochar, 4 inches green material like grass clippings, 2 inches brown material like leaves. Let it sit 4 to 6 weeks. Microbes colonize the biochar and coat it with nutrient-rich biofilm. After activation, mix into garden beds at 10% by volume. For a 4 by 8 bed, 12 inches deep, that's 3 to 4 gallons of activated biochar. Work it into the top 6 inches. Plant immediately. Within 2 weeks, you'll see darker soil, stronger seedlings. By the second season, your soil performs better than the year before, even with nothing else added. A farmer in Pennsylvania documented this. He added biochar to half of a 1-acre field in 2012, tracked yields for 8 years. Year 1, 15% more corn in the biochar section. Year 3, 30% more. By year 8, 45% higher yields. Soil organic matter increased from 3% to 8%. He hadn't added fertilizer to the biochar section since 2012. This is Terra Preta in real time, soil that builds itself. One handful of charcoal, applied once, creating fertility that compounds for decades. The indigenous Amazonians didn't have labs, they had observation and patience. They watched forests regenerate with charcoal from lightning strikes and cooking fires. They copied nature, then improved it. What we call Terra Preta, they called home, where food grew without struggle, where soil got richer each year, where future generations inherited fertility instead of debt. 500 years of colonial agriculture tried to erase it, but carbon doesn't forget. It waits in the soil, in the forest, in every piece of wood you burn. The science is there, the evidence is overwhelming. The only question is whether you're willing to remember what they tried to make you forget. One handful, 1,000 years. The choice has always been yours. If this changes how you see soil, share it with someone who's tired of buying fertilizer. The earth is waiting, and it doesn't need permission to regenerate.